Holler if you hear me, and welcome to this edition of Luke's Shocks, because the headlines keep on coming, so I keep on coming right at them. Actress Melissa Barrera has been fired from Scream 7 after social media posts regarding Israel, opening a job for another talentless ditz who fulfills an inclusivity checkbox. Witcher creator Andrzej Sapkowski claimed in a recent interview in English that Netflix ignored all of his notes regarding how to properly portray his world and characters in his original novels from 1980s Poland. Since the writers were busy inventing new gender pronouns, they couldn't be bothered to go and look at the actual source material. Marvel's co-writer Megan McDonnell was hired to be a writer on the new live-action Netflix version of Tomb Raider starring Phoebe Waller-Bridge, along with writing a memoir called How to Femscold and Fail Upward. Marvel is rumored to have a female Silver Surfer in their upcoming Fantastic Four movie, mainly to validate how faithful and entertaining the Fantastic Four movies starring Jessica Alba were compared to this. A trailer dropped for a new South Park video game, giving us all more sellout leftist Hollywood drivel that people online convince themselves is mocking both sides equally and always so great and brilliant, and not repetitive at all. Comedian Matt Reef responded to controversy around jokes of his in the New York Times profile by saying, "It's insane to be mad at people who are trying to make you laugh." Apparently, this man is ignorant of how the New York Times is entirely staffed by people who want nothing more than Colbert cuckery clapter, and nothing else when it comes to their perverted sense of what comedy is supposed to be. Internet personality Pokimane is under fire for her brand of cookies being accused of being overpriced and also repurposed from other suppliers and not being produced by her own people. And all she responded to all of this controversy was simply by insulting her fans, then went back to bed in her stop being poor bed sheets. Disney's new movie Wish flopped in its opening weekend, finishing third behind Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and Napoleon, with only $31.7 million over the Thanksgiving Day weekend, well under the projected $50 million. And when your movie fails when competing with a movie starring Rachel Zegler, you, Disney, have really screwed up. Because it's not bad enough that we still are getting more and more windfall from how much that the Marvels have screwed up. It's not as if we're already now even getting clickbait Disney butt-kissing websites to now actually go out there and criticize Marvel for how they lied about the promise and the importance of Thanos in the new Marvels trailer, when really the movie in its finished product had absolutely positively nothing to do with all of the actually popular heroes and villains they showed for most of the initial trailer, with Iron Man and Captain America and Thanos right there. And now after this, with the wheelhouse that's supposed to be yours, what's supposed to be what built your damn company on, cartoon movies that people love to go see and will spend money on tickets again and again, and go get merchandising, and then get more merchandising, and then wear all that merchandise to the parks, and then go and buy more merchandising that they can wear and carry all over the parks, from hats to those gloves, to maybe even the kind of hats that can get their names sewn into, and maybe even come across a guy being a fall down drunk in a Winnie the Pooh costume and laughing and laughing and laughing, and we're supposed to find that cool. But nope. Instead, you now have shown what happens when people like you refuse to ever acknowledge any kind of creative or ideological failure, since you are the most deranged, insufferable ideologues anybody would ever have the misfortune of knowing. You would rather continue to do everything possible to make sure that you will fail harder and harder, and never admit that you were ever a failure, that you are ever responsible for said failures, that you will eventually have nowhere else to go and completely fail into oblivion if you continue to have these self-imposed failures. Because I'm pretty sure maybe now the Walt Disney Company should officially change its name, since absolutely positively nothing of Walt Disney himself has anything to do with this company anymore, between political machinations in their studio and just the sheer idea of, actually running a business that's successful by having a product that you are known to produce, continue to produce that product on brand, and actually go and, sell it well. All these things that the Bob Iger regime absolutely positively hates and fears to do in the name of more and more and more pandering to social justice garbage. It's almost as if this is a place where now Disney actually wants to go under. That maybe this is some kind of agenda where everything they've got, all the companies that they cartoonishly bought up out of sheer aberrant greed in the 2000s to cover up how they were going nearly bankrupt in the early 2000s. So now let's go and just buy up other companies with whatever kind of big bank loans we can get in order to convince ourselves that really it's a matter of, no, look at how our profits are going up. It's not as if we're just spot welding other people's successes onto ours and saying that we did it when we absolutely positively have not been able to create anything exciting since the 90s, but we still pretend that we are. We still pretend that we are Disney. We still pretend that we're creative. We're still pretending that we have any intellectual capacity to listen to the audience, when really it's a matter of now these days, they really, Joe, don't just live in contravention of the concept that the customer is always right. For them, the customer deserves to be re-educated. Because social engineering is really what Disney's in the business of. They're not in the business of producing movies. They're not in the business of managing theme parks. They're not in the business of any other company that they've been buying up, from Lucasfilm to Marvel Comics. Those companies and their studios, the MCU or the Star Wars universe in general, they were founded and built on the back of other creators, other producers, other actors, other directors that built those studios up. And then in came the Mouse House with its BlackRock checkbook to consume them into the board collective that modern Disney has become. To the point where now Bob Iger should stop trying to assume that we believe he's actually a human being anymore, and now just finally walk out into public with a big red laser scope over one eye and black leather with pipes and wires all over him saying, "We are the Disney. Lower your shields and surrender your ships. We will add your creative and financial distinctiveness to our own. Strength is irrelevant. Resistance is futile." Or, it would only make more sense. It would only just be them being honest. But why will they never do this? Because remember, this is Disney, and honesty is evil. To them, honesty is just another example of bigotry, and bigotry is just simply listening to the fans and catering to them, like what Universal continues to do more often than not. Yes, they produce their own drivel, their own propagandist crap, like that As She Said movie that was completely engineered to be Hollywood, congratulating itself for how it was morally taking the stand against Harvey Weinstein, and outright being blind veneration almost to a religious fervor of the New York Times, and it turns out absolutely positively neither Hollywood nor the New York Times has any right to be moral or upright or intellectual. They're a bunch of perverts, and they are in a giant commie hive mind. The New York Times received a Pulitzer all the way back in the good old days of wartime, before even my father was born. They won a Pulitzer for publishing an article that was outright worshipful of Joseph Stalin and his regime, at the same time that they were ending 20 million lives, including many that were Jewish. And who still is the majority of the people in charge of studios and corporations in Hollywood? Yeah, they ain't exactly coming from Palestine. But that's just an example of how these are these self-hating Jews stereotypes brought to the most politically motivated extreme of Hollywood being so financially dependent on the most passionately anti-Semitic people possible, and also anti-gay and anti-women having anything else to do besides obey men, and anti-anything that the asswipes from Hollywood to Disney to the stilted monologues of Stephen Colbert and the rest of the losers at late night who wish that Mr. Greg Gutfeld would stop whipping their butts in the ratings. None of that. All of them, if you take that same context of some actual act of violence or hatred or paranoia or phobia towards a gay man or an Asian woman or a black woman or a Jew or whatever going on in the Middle East or in the Chinese government, not only will they ignore them, but they will praise getting to obey them, like Disney's insipid live-action Mulan remake, where they actually were worshipful towards the Chinese government, allowing them to film in the province where there is an Islamic torture camp. And why do they not care about those? Why does suddenly being pro-Hamas not qualify there? Because those are examples of Muslims that aren't slipping them checks under the radar in exchange for continuing to get them the belief that they are somehow financially afloat. When no, it's just basically one of the acts of prostitution they're doing in order to keep the light bill going, because actually producing things with money they've earned of generating profits and then putting those profits into expanding their business or maintaining their business, that's not what Disney is in anymore. They are people that might as well just be honest to themselves and admit that they kneel before Klaus Schwab 5 times a day. And that's not my opinion. I know I'm right. I want to thank you for watching. Please subscribe so my channel will reach 10,000 subscribers. Do not forget to also become a channel member today. Channel memberships start at $2.99 with the first link in the description below. And you can also go out there and shop at my art store for this Christmas with the second link in the description below, where I have poster art for $200, color art is $30, pen and ink art is $25, sketchbooks are $25, trading cards are only $10, and you can commission an original piece of art for $60, or a pen and ink piece of art for $50, or a trading card piece of art for only $20. And you can also donate my store. Donations are the first thing you see there. Any denomination around the world is accepted, and also even the minimum donation is appreciated because those donations go directly to me. And if you want to buy my work or commission me, but you live outside of America, all you have to do is add up what you want in US dollars with another 25 US for the international shipping and handling fee, and your items will ship immediately. So thank you for watching, and remember, felines, slam it, lick it, suck it, and see you, Space Cowboy.